Only my second time in Athens. I came the first time last year, and I've been to most of the countries in Europe. I traveled quite a lot. I went to, I think, 34 countries just in Europe now, maybe 63 countries around the world. But I had to schedule my diet. I'm fat right now, as you may have noticed. And I had to schedule to cut my calories after my trip to Athens because I like your fucking food too much. So I order maybe 5 entrees, like five dinners, main course. And the waiters, they'll look at me, you order one thing, you order another thing, and then somebody else orders, they say, no, he already ordered and I say, oh, wait a minute, more. You order another dish, they say, sir, this is too much. And I've never seen this anywhere. I would never hire, if I owned a restaurant, I would never ever hire a Greek waiter because it's terribly bad for business. They say, they try to talk the customer out of buying more. Of course I want the fucking customer to buy more, but by 5 meals, their facial affects, it's too much. It's too much. No. I said, no, take away later. Bring me 5 fucking meals. So I like your saganaki and a bunch of other shit that I can't pronounce. And man, it's fucking good. I'm mostly going to answer your questions today, and there's 2 snotty things that I have to deal with, and I just say them up front. And if I piss anybody off early, that's good. You can fuck yourself and leave. But mostly came to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Make sure if you ask a question, ask a lot of questions. Ask questions. But talk loud enough so the whole fucking room can hear you, please. I have nothing here. I came here to eat all your food, and I thought, I usually have like 10 people travel with me, at least 8. 8 people, 10 people. It's just my buddy and I. And I'm like, you know what? We're in Athens. Let's go talk to the Greek guys. So fucking, just for fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. No, thank you guys. Just be cool and fucking talk outside. I know you're fucking Greek too. You're supposed to talk. I understand. I know this is a big problem. I understand. What do you guys want to talk about? What are the main things you guys have on your mind? Yeah.
Hey man, my name's Alex. I came from Rhodes all the way. So shout out. Thanks for coming. I came here for the business side of what you actually speak to your masterminds and generally in your videos.
Sure.
So I started listening to like the last 3 weeks or something, and then you heard that you're gonna have this thing here, and I had to come. So I'm already having some like success in business basically, and I started adopting like your mental mindset, basically of how to like be really like acting, and it's fucking great. Like I have plenty of questions, but it's pretty specific. So I got all this disparate knowledge basically on exactly what you say now, like psychology, all this stuff, like the same as Travis like mentioned a little bit before. Like what was the turning point that you actually just congealed all this shit together,
There's not, There's just not. Everybody thinks there's some big fucking moment in your life, The big moments in your life are never a good one. When you have the big moment in your life, it's because there was a car crash. It's because your friend died from a violent act.
Actually, yeah.
It's because your dad died early. When you have one of those big moments in your life, it's never a fucking good one, And and that might motivate you, and it should. It should motivate you to go fucking do something. But you people, and I do mean you people. I studied philosophy quite a lot. I was a business major in undergrad, business for graduate school. I had a minor in philosophy plus several other classes, minor in psychology, etc. But this kind of is the birthplace of civilization. And I don't say it to pander to the audience, but I can go anywhere on fucking earth that I want to whenever I feel like it. But I really feel something special here. But when I go to the Lyceum, and I would have spent 200 hours, 300 hours reading about Plato, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and the Alexander the Great stories after Aristotle, etc. And you guys are supposed to go fucking do something.
Yeah.
Your ancestors did.
Actually.
You guys are supposed to go fucking do something. Your ancestors changed the world. You don't, instead of needing a big fucking catalyst, instead of needing a near-death experience or a death in your family or a death of a friend or something of this sort, you just fucking wake up and go do something. Just go do it every day.
Precisely. catalyst for me, it's like 3 weeks ago or something, you know? That's why I came here, like just, I clicked and I just booked the tickets and I came here like just to see this, because for me the catalyst was just fixing my diet. I figured out I had some shit that cut my energy in half basically. I knew these things, I was trying to do them but not consistently, so they wouldn't stick. I would feel once shitty, once like I would feel like a champ basically. So as soon as I fixed this shit, it started happening in like a consistent way, you know? So I heard you were trying to fix like your diet basically like the last bit. And I thought that was like,
I got a lot of low-hanging fruit, sir.
but
About 14 kilos I gotta fix.
yeah, that's cool. I can help with that if you want, but I had like specific questions. For, like,
We'll bring it. Don't be ashamed to ask a smart question. What do you got?
and I've just started now. Like I've just started waking up and I have all this energy. Like, what kind of advice do you have when you actually feel like you're on top of the thing, you know?
Well, keep going. You know, if you feel like you're on top of something, keep going.
Yeah.
There's no obviously you're talking about your diet, but you're clearly you've been going to the gym quite a lot.
I'm a gymnast. Like I've been like forever like this basically. But
Great.
now I feel like my brain is optimally functioning.
Do you need any? Do you use any fucking discipline to go work out?
Fuck yeah, every day.
Do you still?
Like I have like rings on top of my actual desk, you know.
I find even for me, now I am disciplined in the gym. I'll go lift weight 4 days a week. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care if I had a headache. I don't care if I ate something and I vomited.
Yeah.
I don't care if I just flew across the fucking world 28 hours or some shit. You got to go to the gym, and you know I can't make any excuse for that. You know, we talked about diet. That's the only area in my life that I've been a pussy.
Yeah.
And you know, I grew up with a fat mom. She's still obese. She's a wreck. I grew up with a fat mom. You know, rather verbally abusive and occasionally physical abusive. And that was the reward mechanism in my house. Now, this is not her fault. This is my fault at the end of the day. Maybe it's her fault when I'm 10 or something, okay?
Yeah.
It's her fault when I'm 7. It's her fault when I'm 12. But when I'm 40, it's my fucking fault. So that's where the story is going to end, by the way. But, you know, I still have that psychological anchor in my head of that, you know, well, you know, you feel a little stressed, just go eat something. You know, oh, you're having trouble sleeping, just fucking go eat something, you know, food coma or some shit. And I've just been a pussy about that. And I can't be a pussy about that anymore because I'm 40. And, you know, my finances are really in fantastic shape, and for sure they're going to be better. My education is very good. You know, academically, I got a great peer group around me and great mentors and other friends around me that I learn new things every day. So I have that, you know, mechanism in place to keep learning things and keep developing myself. So I mean, that's the only thing in my life that I feel like, you know, I wouldn't even say I feel ashamed of it. I'm just like, well, you know, it'd be weird if I didn't fix that too.
Yeah.
It'd just be weird if I didn't do that too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to mean shit for my sex life. It might help me make a little bit more money. A business partner would like his business partner to look fit and presentable. I don't think it's going to help me with my sex life at all, but it will help me live a little bit longer, have more energy when I'm old, and maybe I'll make a bit more money because I look more presentable to have, you know, higher quality business partners. So there's some perks there, and I'm half a Jew, so I have to focus on the money part. So you know, but probably it'll help me make more money and live longer to spend it, but because the sex life's not a motivator for me. So yeah, you know, it's just, you know, why do I say all that on the back end of what you said? Is just like, dude, like, just keep going. If something's working, just keep going. Well, you have to find the synergies. You know, academic education is great. You know, I spent 9 years in college, and my friends who didn't go to college, the people that I grew up with, you know, half of them are dead, literally. You know, a third of them are in prison for, you know, long, you know, 30 years, life. So I grew up around some rather rough people. You know, the difference between my outcomes or their outcomes is, you know, I was willing to like read books and go do shit. So, you know, reading a book, that's nice. You have maybe, you know, if you read the wrong book, maybe you're making yourself a bigger dumbass. But I don't have, you know, I listen to Audible. I talk about Audible enough that they should give me a fucking endorsement, but they haven't yet. So, you know, Audible endorsement, bring it. But, you know, when I get on a jet, I mean, I'm flying quite a lot, over 300,000 kilometers every year, flying somewhere. And when you know, on my way to the airport, I get in the vehicle, I tell Uber driver or Lyft driver, you know, turn the music off, please, very important email. And sometimes I do respond to an email, but usually I just want to listen to my own fucking stuff, and I don't want their distraction. I don't want the volume level on level 1 or level 2, so it's still faint and distracting in the background. I want the shit fucking off. So I want, turn that shit off. And if you're listening to music instead of audio books, all right, you're giving your competitors a fantastic advantage over you. You're giving your competition a fantastic advantage. Every time you decide to listen to music instead of something educational, you just, it's like you woke up that day and you decided, let me cut off a couple centimeters off my cock and just throw it over. I don't need that little thing. No need to have an optimal outcome. Might as well have a shorter cock. Might as well have a more feeble brain. So, and when I say this to a group, it's going to offend some people. You say, how dare he talk? That's my leisure time. When I'm listening to the music, that's my leisure time. That's great, and your competition loves it. Your competition loves it when you substitute to leisure instead of doing something productive. It's fantastic. Your competition loves it. They hope you listen to more music. They hope you do more mindless shit. They hope you spend more time playing sports instead of doing something actually productive. Play sports for fitness, and after you hit your fitness quota, go do something else. Get some money. Help a friend with a project. Start a business. Do something. And, the difference between my head, even when I'm not in Athens, my head is full of with years of reading 20,000 pages of Western philosophy, much of it from this part of the world. So I do think like this all the time, not just because I'm here. But what did the OGs from here say? What did Socrates say? So, he didn't even want to spend time around his own children. He said that having children was the end of your intellectual growth. And he took every opportunity to get away from his wife, and I believe he had 4 kids. I might have that wrong. He took every opportunity to stay away from his own wife and kids. He wanted to go do something and talk to somebody out in the city. Try to learn something new today. And fucking Aristotle, at the time he was alive, he must have been the smartest fucking guy in the world. If you read Nicomachean Ethics or his books of metaphysics and so on, I don't know if there was a person on earth who was more educated than he was, at the time that he was alive. And that education, well, first of all, we're still talking about him 2,500 years later. And when I haven't gone this week, but when I went before to see the Lyceum, there's not much there. But you go to Aristotle's school, and I still feel a little emotional about it. That one of the most brilliant men, perhaps, that ever lived. This was his piece of land or his territory. This is where Aristotle pissed. But it's also probably true, so I find that humorous. Like Aristotle farted just over there. So that crass humor is stuck in my head too. But there's also like a touching emotional or intellectual moment of being in the place where other some of the best people in history ever, some of the best people to ever be born, that's their piece of the world, or where Socrates died, But these are people that they really impacted. Aristotle, Aristotelian logic that they still teach in university today is still him. Is still much of it. The foundation of it came from him. Alexander. What is the influence of that education? What happened? What did Alexander do? He hung out with Aristotle as a child, and then he went and killed everyone, or said differently in a more polite or tempered way, he conquered the known world. And then when he did that, then he conquered some of the unknown world. And he said, when you get to the edge of, I'm paraphrasing, I don't recall the exact quote, but he's, when his 12 years, he just kept advancing the troops into new land, something like 12 years. And after he conquered everything that humans from this part of the world knew existed at that time, he's like, well, we must keep going. There's more. That's a hell of an adventure. Now, you could say the guy died in his early 30s, etc., and I understand what happened after him too, of the infighting of his generals, etc. But what's your fucking adventure going to be? What are people going to say about you? And I'm not one of these people that's so focused on legacy. Okay, some people that they want a fucking monument built about them or some legacy. Most of these are dictators, by the way. Most of them aren't really brilliant people. It's a deep narcissism. So I don't really give a shit what I don't need a statue. I don't need my fucking face on YouTube or on television. I just want to go through my life and enjoy my life, and I don't mind that anonymity. But I also do feel a happiness that I really, really helped a lot of people change their lives. And this sounds, extraordinarily narcissistic, what I'm about to say, but we really changed evolution. And I get emails every week. I get emails constantly. I get invited to weddings. I get invited to, my fiance and I are doing this. Can you come? I see you're going to be in town. Do you have time for dinner? If I came to every fucking dinner I was invited to, I would have died of heart disease already. It would be bad. Children are named after me. People who are, I don't think they were attention seekers. I think people that were seriously considering suicide have written me and told me that, they listened to something I said and they felt connected to something again. They felt a new purpose in their life to go do something. So I don't need a monument. I don't even talk about this much, I don't know if I talked about it at all publicly before. I don't need a monument. I don't need recognition from strangers. I don't give a shit what strangers think about me. Really couldn't care at all. Most people, I don't like most people, and you don't either. You don't either. And if you have any doubt of that, or if you find that shocking, think of the last 1,000 guys that you met, last 1,000 people that you met. You don't like most of them. You'd be happy to hang out with one or two of them. You'd call one or two of them a friend, maybe two. If you would call 10 of them a friend, I don't want to be your friend. You have a very loose definition of that word. If 1% of people you meet you think of as a good friend, I don't want to be friends with that person because you don't know what that fucking word means. So, but what are you doing? And I don't say that in an insulting way or a challenging way. It's just a question to ask yourself. I'm speaking to him, but I'm speaking to all of you. Yeah. It's like, answer that question for yourself. And again, I don't mean it in an insulting way, but just a bit of a personal challenge of like, for me personally, I don't like children. The last thing I'd want to do is raise a child. I don't like children. I'm really in touch with the Socrates perspective of that. I think it would get in the way of my happiness much, much more than it would add to it. Now, the part of my brain, I don't even want to have a fucking dog or something. I like animals. I do like animals. I don't like children. I do like animals. But I don't need to possess one, and I don't need to walk behind it and pick up its shit, It's really not for me. The part of my brain that's, like warm or nurturing or the part of my fatherly brain that would want to help a fucking child tie a fucking shoelace or wipe his ass or something. I'd rather help somebody change their life. I'd rather help somebody, go make yourself a better person so you can contribute more. Not because you're a fucking altruist or a nice guy, out of sheer selfishness, if nothing else. Make yourself a better person so you could fucking contribute more. And that's what's going to get you all the rewards you want. Your success in life is going to be directly proportional to your ability to help others. So I grew up on welfare, and I think it's disgusting. I seen my mother exploit that system. My father was in prison. My uncle was in prison. And I seen my mother just every handout she could get. She'd work harder to get the fucking handout than she would to try to go get a job, She might have made more money if she just focused on something else and actually did something. I think it's disgusting. If that's where you're at right now, you shouldn't be there in a year. Maybe you got a sad story. Fix your fucking story, bitch. Fix your fucking story if you got a sad story. Go do something. And there's no excuse for this. Your ancestors would have died for the opportunities that you have. And did. Would have and did. And I think about that sometimes when I feel like being lazy, when I feel like not doing something. I think, how many of my ancestors wish they had the opportunities that we have today? And you can say, the Greek economy, there's something called the internet. And the internet doesn't care if you're in Greece or Moldova or Uganda, wherever he's from. The internet doesn't care if you're from Uganda, doesn't care if you're from Moldova, doesn't care if you're, Rhodes. Does the internet work in Rhodes? It still works in Rhodes. Is the island? Hey, it still works there. You don't need a fucking boat to go get money. It's almost outlawed in Western culture. You're not allowed to speak about reality anymore. So just a continuation of this conversation is, for 2,500 years, for more than that, our ancestors tried to understand objective reality better, to understand, to advance science and so on. And, philosophy was the precursor of modern psychology and medicine in some ways also. And so for thousands of years, it's a battle to advance our circumstances. I mean, you could argue for over 1 billion years it's a battle if you want to go back pre-human. or pre-mammal. But and now in the modern world, now that things are good, now that we enjoy the internet, we enjoy modern science, that I can get on a fucking jet and fly anywhere in the world, and I do, all the time. And you pick up your phone, you have more power in your damn hand than anyone in history did. The most powerful people in history, up till a few years ago, you have more power in your fucking hand in whatever type of phone you have. And now we're also spoiled that everything is so good, so good, so good. Then the next generation of people are born, or the current generation of people, and they're so ungrateful. They have it so good that any little inconvenience they think is a catastrophe. They think it's your fault. Or they think it's my fault. Who here is over 30? Who's over 30? They think it's your fault. People that are younger than you, they think it's your fault that you didn't make the world perfect. There's still minor inconveniences that they have to tolerate. It's your fault that us old people, we didn't make the perfect for them, so they could just have everything for fucking free and easy. And it's such a disgrace. It's such a disrespect for history. It's such a disrespect for the sacrifice and suffering that your ancestors and their ancestors and their ancestors made. It's really a tragedy. And you're not allowed to speak about that anymore. You're not allowed to speak about that. You have a true victim culture happening that, if you're a victim, that's great. If you're a victim, you're supposed to be coddled. You need a hug. It's not your fault. It's definitely somebody else's. Probably the fault of somebody who was productive. There's probably your oppressor and you didn't even know it. And these people, they don't read. They have they have an 8-second attention span from their social media. So they don't read. They don't do anything. It's real, it's going to be a real problem for your generation. I feel like it's a real problem in my life that, I have a group of people, wherever I go, anywhere on earth. I put this event on the schedule something like 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know. But I mentioned, I was already in Europe. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to Athens anyway. Put it on the schedule, I'll do an extra talk. And, so I have the luxury of having an audience anywhere in the world I go. There'll be a group of serious people come to see me. And that's such a great privilege. That's such a great privilege that people don't come to see me because they're a little bitch generally. There's 10% of the room that I'm offending, and fuck you. Fuck you, whoever you are. It's probably somebody who's not laughing right now. So, fuck you, whoever you are. But and leave. If you had any self-respect, you'd leave. If you're offended and you had a bit of self-respect, you would just leave and go do something more productive. But if you're offended, it's probably because you're a lazy bitch. So you got nothing else to do you? So stay here and be offended, bitch. But the other 90%, are really good people. And it's every continent and every country. So I get to meet young people like you that are serious and you want to go do something and you're valuing your time and you're valuing your life and you're going to go be somebody. And that's fantastic. But I really know that I feel like it's a pain or a despair. There's a lot of young people that can't find somebody else to talk to because your schools don't teach you shit like they should. They teach you to be soft. Your ancestors didn't have it so soft. If your dad told you to do something tough, that's almost abuse today. It's a problem. It is a problem that I think a lot of young people are going to be very frustrated that it's hard to find a real friend. Now, I mentioned earlier that I grew up around a lot of rough people, but some of those people were kind of terrible people, and I could have done without them. But some of those people, you had relationships because your word meant something. Because if you gave somebody, you wouldn't need a contract to get something done. Your word meant something. And for some of you, some of the Eastern European cultures are still this way. There's real consequences that in a smaller community or within your subculture in a larger community, there's real consequences to not keep your word to people. And then there's other parts of the world that, if it's not written, if it's not on a contract and notarized, forget about it. There's no honor. There's no honor. There's no self-respect. It's going to be a real struggle for some of you, and I think that's really unfortunate. Try to find other people here. I really mean that. Try to find other people here that you're in a room with some of the most serious people from this part of the world. You're in a room with some of the people that have some of the same frustrations you do. Some of the most serious and dedicated people in this little part of the world. And really try to make a friend here somewhere. You have a hard time making a friend in society. Do you feel this frustration? I didn't know, what did you say?
I feel sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah, I wish you well. Good luck. The media is not going to help you. The internet is being perverted to be something that it wasn't intended to be. We'll see.